Do you want to sit in the middle? Where's the gavel? Let me get it for you, Steve.
Oh, here we go.
I wasn't there because he didn't inform me it was gonna be here.
Because we can be unruly, so it's never know.
Yeah, I
Gonna
know.
get a little crazy.
We are. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call to order the meeting. Today's August 22nd of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. I'm Vice Chair, Steve Ewan, so our chair is not here tonight. So we'll go through and record attendance, which is the three of us, which gives us a quorum. I suppose there's no conflicts of interest for you to talk about. Anybody? No, okay. And adjustments to the agenda, I don't know if anybody has anything to report on that.
If Chair Farmer was going to be here, he was talking about the bylaws that would be put in at that case, but I don't know if he's coming or not.
Well, he never discussed that with me either, so I guess we're gonna have to table that
I guess so.
for now, right? Is Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hey, Donna, can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Can you hear us, Donna? Okay, we can't hear you.
I noticed on the review of the meeting minutes, there are two meetings.
If you can hear us, nod yes.
And the other one. So I think we have to.
Donna, if you can hear us, can you nod yes?
Which was added one.
I love it.
Sometimes she's lost.
She's so cute.
When I met my daughter, I used to bring her. It does.
Looking around.
I know, exactly.
Who knows what they absorb.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Start bringing my girls to town meeting. Too, you know.
Yeah, right.
All right.
So maybe-
We go get.
Don't get
Okay,
that.
so we're
Text
suspending
assistance.
things for a second here.
How old is she?
She's gonna be 4 months old next week.
Yes, we're just looking very smart.
So
Hello? Oh,
Oh, we can hear you.
Back.
oh, yay. Okay, I just went out and came back in again and I guess that was,
So,
okay. Sorry about that.
no, we're just getting started, Donna,
Yeah.
so we're kind of waiting to see if Chris is gonna show up, but he's not here, so we're gonna,
forward you here.
Steve's gonna take over.
Okay.
Prepared, because I didn't know he was coming, not coming, but,
That's
all right, we got sound break. And we don't have Joe, so we have Breck here today, manning the
Excellent.
staff position. Okay, so I don't know if folks had a chance to review the meeting minutes. There were actually 2 minutes to look at, the regular meeting, and then there was a meeting of organizational structure. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend either one of those meetings, but I have looked at the.
We nominated you anyway, Steve.
What's that?
We nominated you anyway in your absence.
In abstention? I
Yeah.
know that works, actually.
yes,
Been there for that.
Wendy and I had it all under control.
Yeah.
I'm
there's
sure
not a
she did.
problem.
I'm sure you both did. Anybody have any comments on the meeting minutes or did it look all right?
motion to
Right.
approve the July 23rd, 2024 CRC meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Approved.
Motion to approve the July 23rd organizational meeting for the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee minutes.
Second that.
All in favor of that? Both approved. Okay. So how about old business at this point? Is there something that we should bring up now before we get to the new business?
Mr. Chair, the only thing that I'd mentioned, and it was a request that the Chair Farmer had asked about the actionable steps, and I don't know whether we dropped the ball or what happened with it, but we don't know what the status is of all those things, because we were supposed to colorize them and see what's still applicable, what has been accomplished, and what's done. So maybe what we could do is for the next thing to have Joe print out a copy, so at least we could eyeball it here, because it shouldn't take more than like,
Right.
15 minutes
Yeah,
if it's visual,
yeah.
But that's the only thing I can remember from old business.
Okay. One thing I might bring up on that, I know we have the master spreadsheet as you just described it. Do we have assigned everybody tasks within that in terms of the individual sections or anything like that?
We did, yes.
And do you mean as far as the different categories of entities, like planning board, like?
Well, the different categories in the plan, like I know I'm talking about historical resources today, cultural and archaeological as well. But I didn't know if we have all the other sections, like, housing and land related things. And so.
Since I wasn't a part of the meeting from the beginning, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's been discussed since I've been on board.
You're right. So that was discussed in one of the first generations of that, and the way that we parsed out that work was who's responsible for implementation or to discuss it. So it was the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, and some of it is overlapping, obviously. And so what we did is we each took one of those responsible bodies and went through, and I think that the historic component of it was something that you had mentioned you were gonna do. And then because the planning is kind of a cumbersome one, I think Joe and Breck were working on that. I was working on the Board of Selectmen because I met with the previous chair to get the historical background of what had actually been accomplished, and a lot of it had. And a lot of it is still ongoing. So I don't think that there's that many items as outliers. I just think some of the things that haven't been done, we really need to think, is this still viable? And should we, pursue it, because we just didn't get to it.
Right, I think one of the things, and Donna and I have talked about this because we've met a couple times on the side a little bit, not relative to the work I was doing in history mainly. But I think that, eventually we're gonna have to move to writing copy, and that's pretty much what I did here, which you'll see, it's the first draft of this particular section. And presumably we're gonna need to do the same thing for all the other sections eventually.
And I'm happy to take some of that on. I don't have any problem with that.
I do, I'm really talking process now, it's just, if we
We
do
gotta
that.
start moving.
Right, we gotta move the ball down the field a little bit. We're sort of organizing the game plan, now we kind of push it forward. And I feel like this piece that I did is probably the first rewriting of things that's actually a document that we all can review and cut up or change. But I basically did use the big spreadsheet to look at history. Well, I say history, but it's history, archaeological, and cultural resources. So I would suggest that, maybe at the next meeting, we, confirm who's doing what, so to speak. And then the following meeting, maybe we'll all have drafts of the different sections.
And I know Donna and I had worked on the introduction a little bit too, that we didn't finish up, but we just kind of laid a little bit of the groundwork down. So, I mean, I don't want to do it without the chair farmer, but I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and I've just been, Steve, I've been pulling people in like I went over the zoning ordinance and came up with a few things and sent them to Cindy because she was really involved and hoping that she'll help with that. And that's sort of a mixture of stuff that would go into housing and into economic development. But the way my contract is with the town is that I'm going to handle housing, the economy, the climate change, and there was another one, and I'm forgetting which one it is. COG is going to be doing transportation because that's what they do. They always do the transportation section for communities. They're going to be doing transportation and the population piece. And so the remaining pieces, I have and Wendy, maybe this is something you'd be interested in. I have edits from the land trust on the natural resources and open space, and the fisheries is part of that. And so, you know, I will send that to you, and you can, you know, maybe look at the fisheries piece of that.
Sure,
And-
because I have all those interviews too from the guides.
Right, right. Because you've got some information on that. So, I mean, that's how it's breaking out. I think that's that's how it's working right now.
What about well-being? Wasn't that a section that you wanted to add, Steve?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Health,
Well-being,
healthcare
health
and-
and
Health and
well-being.
well-being, health and wellness,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that should just be its own section.
Yeah, probably should be.
I'm
It
not
doesn't
thinking.
exist in the present document. That's what alerted me to that, basically.
Right. And then there's some other sections too, like the regional piece, and we're going to be doing a lot of that in September, having those meetings with the plantations, and then with the other communities. We'll talk about, you know, that should give information to do the regional piece, that section. So
There's also,
yeah,
there's also sections like tourism that might be informed by the upcoming meetings we have with businesses and that sort of thing.
right. That will come, that'll be part of the economy section. And so that is, you know, I'm kind of waiting for the business survey results, which I think you probably saw. Joe said that 16 have been returned. So
Okay, 16.
it's not a huge response. He did send out reminders. So and maybe, and I did an outline. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I did an outline for how I would think that meeting would go. And, you know, I'm open to any discussion on that. But yeah, once that meeting is done, then I think, you know, it's time for me to jump into the economy. I've been looking at the housing section, and I had a good conversation this morning, with Carl about some of the stuff that's happening with regard to housing, and I've posed some questions to Cindy about what about some of these changes. I'm thinking it should be in there for you to consider setting up a housing authority, because a housing authority is a nonprofit, and they therefore can accept donations. They can get certain grants that the town can't get. And there's different types of housing authorities. And if you have certain types of housing authorities, you can get money from the home program, which is, I really like that program because it lets you do housing rehab. And I've used that, you know, I mean, it's one at a time, and it's a lot of work, but it helps people that otherwise have a hard time, and it keeps the housing stock solid. And there's provisions in there to recapture that money. If, you know, if they sell their property, there are provisions to recapture the money that they were, you know, the improvements that were made. So I'm kind of working internally on some of these items, and trying to get some initial feedback on them as to, you know, what does the committee think? And so there's different things happening on different fronts.
Good.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yeah.
Or Chair.
I can pass the stick to him.
I have a question. I think that that's a good idea, but that would be outside of the purview of the town as a standalone, not-for-profit.
I would do a not for profit, and I would, you know, it would be something that I think that's definitely something you'd want to do on a well, I would think that you would want to pose it as a regional thing, and maybe it's the plantations, and maybe it's even bigger than that. But
we want to be careful about the terminology and say that we want to consider farming or
yes,
have a discussion about that.
explore.
Not a have to.
Or, I would say.
Absolutely.
Just, yeah, encourage the formation of, that way we're not,
Explore opportunities, something like that, but.
there's a few of us looking into setting up a housing authority, actually.
Mhm.
Because there's a couple
Right.
that are moving, there's one guy who's moving here full-time in a couple weeks, that's got a lot of knowledge of that, I have quite a bit of knowledge. And, a couple of us have thought of putting something together, because Matt Tier and his group said they would turn over their project once complete to a housing authority if one was established. So, some of us are looking into it.
So there's some talk about that now. Yeah, it would just be an idea to consider. And I think that it's, you know, it's just sort of like, get it on the books.
Yeah, I agree. It should be at least, to see, at least put it in as a place mark, so when we review in 5 or 10 years the plan again, we can check it.
Yeah. And the other thing, when I was talking to Carl this morning, one of his suggestions was to put something in there on contract zoning and allowing contract zoning. And that can be extremely controversial. But it can be a great tool. You know, it lets you look at an individual parcel, and it lets you be flexible. And some people really like the idea of that flexibility, and others really want zoning to be hard and fast. But the truth of the matter is that zoning gets changed all the time. And so, you know, that's another recommendation that was made. There's a number of them, but some of the bigger items, I think, are looking into a housing authority, doing contract zoning, things like that, that would allow a little bit of a little more flexibility. And I've posed some questions to Cindy about maybe looking at some things a little bit differently if there's, you know, density bonuses, things like that, if it's connected to public sewer. And I know that that's a really limited part of town, but
Well, it's not as limited, but yeah, I hear you.
So, you know, like allowing density bonuses, and if it's affordable housing, or allowing smaller lots in some areas, allowing more lots on a back lot. This would not be connected to public sewer, but right now you can have a back lot and only one lot can be served by a driveway. But, you know, we talked about if it's a good driveway and it's built to certain standards, and, you know, why not? That's a lot of resources. And if you can have fewer driveways, that's a good thing. And if you have more people maintaining them, and that there would have to be some sort of oversight in that then you could have more houses sharing the same back lot.
But I think we cover that with our frontage zoning. We allow, I've encouraged quite a few of my clients when they're looking at lots to say, do a single way in, and then you have road frontage. We just did that with the subdivision there, drove in a commercial zone, but by doing that, your road becomes there, and as long as you're building to a reasonable standard that fits there, and then there's a lot of road associations that already exist here which haven't turned over to the town, so I think if there's a reasonable standard there that I think already exists with planning board on that, but contract zoning for sure is something we should look at. I've been to a a couple conferences, including the last Marita conference in January, where they had this urban contract zoning, which they've done some pretty effective, high-density stuff in the center of town because it made sense, especially for apartments or
Mm-hmm.
lower income housing, affordable or attainable housing. We could cover that. It sure would have helped with the project that on Cross Street, if we'd had a contract zone, then it'd have been a lot, I think it'd been a lot easier for the planning board to get from the ends, the means to the end.
We actually talked about contract zoning to get us past some of the issues that we had. And at the end of the day, we're able to figure it out about going that path, but
Yeah,
the contract zoning can be double-edged sword too. That's one of the
It
problems.
certainly can.
It can be extremely helpful in the right situation, but it can be abused too.
but
It's like an overlay district,
Yeah.
same thing.
yeah, but we could also put into that too, that the contract zoning would need requirement by even as high as the ZBA or something like that, so that if you wanna go that route, you've gotta go through a couple steps, so that way there's plenty of public hearing and those pieces on it. I think some people get gun shy of it. I find that it can lots of times solve a lot of issues that you can't otherwise get to when everybody all wants to go in a certain direction, but you're restricted. The contract zone allows you some flexibility and, you know, we're just starting to take advantage of some of the TIF opportunities and that stuff.
Well, and it gives you, it gives you an opportunity to look at the site. Because no two pieces of land are the same. And this gives you the opportunity to look at the site, and what might be appropriate on one site might not even be appropriate on the site next door.
Right.
But
So I think
you
we'll
know-
have to do some work on that. I think we'll have to develop almost a contract zone ordinance that would then outline the criteria of which these are measured by. And I think we could handle that, but you know, as the comp plan is supposed to be the backbone, at least I think we should look at sliding that in as a potential.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll put that in as one of the ideas and, give a little background as to what's been talked about. And so those are just some of the things that we're talking about. And Cindy and I I sent her an email with some items in it, and we haven't had a chance to talk about them. And so I don't want to delve into that unless you want to, Cindy.
No, not today, I didn't bring anything with me, I just
Okay.
screeched here from work, so, yeah, I'll be prepared, at our next meeting.
Okay.
We are talking of.
Number 6.
Number 6, we're in number 6 now, yeah.
Alright, so you
Yeah,
covered
yeah.
business survey,
No, we just, this all came up under old business, basically.
okay.
So.
Well, we did do
Anything else
the,
under old business, Donna, before we dive into that?
no.
Okay. Alright, so Joe sent us an email with the update, I think it was
Yeah,
what,
it's like
7
it's like 13 responses.
That's not bad.
And he said that in order to try to increase the responses, he actually put it on Facebook and emailed it out again to email addresses from the first survey.
And did
So
it go to Ally, so Ally could try to bug everybody?
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
people are just still busy.
yeah,
The 19th there, I would say we at least extend it to the Wednesday after Labor Day or whatever.
yeah. I know he asked for responses by August 30th.
I'd push it another week,
Yeah.
right? Give everybody to the 6th.
I think that would make sense after Labor Day.
After.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what I would do is leave it where it is on the 30th, see where we're at, and then do another push to go,
Yeah.
hey, guys, we extended one more week.
Bonus week.
Yeah,
There's
because
still
some
time.
people, there are some people in our community that are deadline conscious, that they may do it on the 29th or 30th, so
Mhm.
I don't wanna give them another excuse to kick another week. Ally knows what I'm talking about with the chamber,
Yeah.
for sure, so. All right, well, that answers that, I think. Steve, did you wanna give your update on the story?
Yeah, I guess I'll do that, yeah, I got the draft, basically, this is one thing we did talk quite a bit about before you got here, Chris, was the idea that we gotta begin moving to writing copy here pretty soon. And I guess what I did here was write an entire first draft of this historic, archaeological, and cultural resources. So I pretty much rewrote, I took things that were still valid in it, but mostly rewrote everything. I'm gonna comment just on the last section, but I will say that I met several times with Michelle Lambie from the historic Rangeley, and also with Val Zapolsky about cultural resources. Interesting, in the current plan, cultural resources is barely deserves a mention, and there's almost nothing about archaeology, even though those are requirements in the state plan. So much of what I've added here involves those things. As far as, so I won't, like I say, we don't have time today for me to go through thing. You can read it if you feel like it at your leisure. I mean, I did rewrite the whole thing. As far as historic resources, that was much kept the same because those are the, we're listing of the historic resources is there are still those 4 places that are on the National Register. But one thing that Michelle and I talked about is there are a lot of places that aren't in the current list that's on the present document. So she's agreed to review that and help create a broader list of buildings that exist in Rangeley that could or might be historic significance. Regarding the archaeological resources, again, that's another thing that is mentioned in here a little bit. So I think there's a map that shows up here, but it basically is this 4 sites in Rangeley that have been identified as archaeological significant sites. Now, almost all in the area around where Rangeley and Kennebago rivers dump into Cupsuptic within Rangeley. There's one well-known place, it's the Indian Rock, which is like the original, area that fishermen came here. But there are other sites there too. And then there's a huge archaeological site off of Ziskahos Lake, which isn't in Rangeley, but it's like, at one time it was the oldest inhabited site in the United States that they had uncovered.
It's Haas.
Huh?
Ziskahas.
I see Ziskahos, it's Haas, whatever.
Just letting you know.
Yeah,
In case some.
the former Galloway River, that's really what it is.
Yeah. So do you,
So
you working one more draft of this, you think?
So this is a draft that I was created really for anybody that wants to make comments on it. But it also requires a follow-up with Michelle. What I did want to focus on today was just the last page, which is the actual goals and policies and the action strategies. And I did change some things here. Of course, I wrote an introduction that didn't exist, but I restated, I guess, what is the state of Maine goal, which is to preserve the state's historic, archaeological, and cultural resources. It's a pretty straightforward statement. But the policies that Rangeley creates need to support that. So I wrote sort of what I would call a overriding policy, which is a long-winded sentence, but it basically addresses the things that need to be done to achieve that state of Maine goal. And then as go further down here, you'll see the different policies and action strategies. Basically, some of it involves land use stuff that I'm not knowledgeable on, but especially with regard to the archaeological pieces, but also the historic resources as well. Let's see. Yeah, then there was no policy at all in the current plan on cultural resources, which is, again, I'm assuming we address the state strategy. So that's completely new. And that really is a result of discussions I had with Val on the areas of cultural resources that impact Rangeley.
Your action strategy, I had a question on that.
Which one's
So
that?
you wanted to, on culture, provide financial support to nonprofit organizations that advance this policy.
Right.
I know in the past, our citizenry have pushed back a lot on direct financial support from there. So I don't know if we
Well, I can add
wanna.
consider to the top of that. I think
Yeah.
some.
I think consider should be all over the place
Yeah,
there,
right.
just because the whole plan should be written that way,
Right, I agree, because I think,
I think your ideas are fabulous.
yeah, I think
You
you're gonna
know,
be careful, I think you'll be careful with provide
Yeah.
and that, and I think So I don't know if you want to, Steve, if you have it in a Word doc, if you want to send it to us, I have no problem. We can turn on the track changes, we can make some
Oh, I definitely
suggested
do, yeah.
edits. And then
I
you
don't
can
have
either accept them or not.
Yeah.
From the various us to send back. I know that's the easiest way for me to provide
Yeah, that's good,
feedback.
that's a good idea, yeah.
And
And you can
Then-
add language.
then we
It's
can
not
add
here.
some language or make some adjustments. I think when he's talking about, we have to, as much of the plan, we have to focus from, we have to
50,000 foot.
right, and we have to, consider, the verbiage is
Yes,
important. I
right.
think, while I don't disagree that providing does make sense, it's gotta come from there, the providing, we gotta be careful of that, cause that, since it is the comp plan.
Well, we also have, our government format is town meeting, and so the voters are the ones that decide how to spend the money. So
Correct.
we really need to give them an opportunity to consider to
Right.
fund whatever it
Yep.
is we're asking,
Well, I guess we could also put in there that we, encourage or, a lot of these people can apply for grants through other areas, and that maybe we put in there something that suggests that we try to, consider providing grant recommendation, whatever, just being a letter from the select board in support of a grant does a
And that's
lot.
current practice,
Yeah.
is that letter of support, whether it's, for grant, pursuing a grant, or, the Rangeley Inn pursuing historic status,
Yes.
and, the town of Rangeley supports nonprofits with access to the town park for,
Right.
festivals, fairs, et cetera,
That's
so
right.
there is some natural,
Yeah, I put that
And to
in.
be frank,
Our
depending on the
argument-
board, how things are handled, because we've been through, in the 16 years I've lived here. It's, nonprofits have seen a various of, it used to be fill out a form and it's on the thing, to now full review of financials and,
well,
Which-
then,
which I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm
No,
just
it's
saying,
good fact.
I just think we wanna make sure when we're writing this, we're writing it that we're not necessarily directing the board, but we're also saying, I don't think it's bad, to just say, consider this, consider grant
Consider,
support, consider, I think, cause it all depends on the
Well, I
personality
think
and
you're
the
right,
structure
I
of the
think
board.
if nothing else, it's putting it on the table
Yeah,
for
Mhm.
potential someone down the road to review and maybe take a more specific stab at. Because one of the things I also mentioned in here, and I realized the language again, I'm gonna change a little bit, but I mentioned historic districts too, which is very, I would say similar, but it's on the line of contract zoning in a sense. Because you're in a point where you're, you're identifying an area that, you wanna control. the looks,
limits the
feel.
aesthetics.
Right.
In the long run,
presumably,
you'll be like Lennox, Mass with one color,
Yeah.
you gotta be careful on that, cause I know in Portland it caused a lot of issues.
Oh, well, they have 13 historic districts in Portland.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
No, I know. No, I'm a free market kind of guy, so I understand that sort of thing. But I'm also about preserving the competitive
Care.
advantage
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Rangeley has.
we've got a short Main Street, it's not like it's a sprawling,
That's true.
No, but for instance, I think that if we can look at some structures and some pieces that, like when Bob and his wife finally decide to develop the old IGA space, that if there's some support for some things that there's also some grant support, or there's some other pieces that try to have it fit.
Yeah,
the look and feel.
incentivize.
Cause to tell you the truth, that's a pretty good site, and
Great site.
and that's great, it could be anything.
Yes.
The way we are right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm also saying, I always find that if you can gently nod by having some other incentives, like the city of Portland, one of the worst things they did, I think, was the historic commission and how tight they got with the planning board. One of the best things they did is they had a facade improvement loan program.
Mhm.
That was at the time when the market rates were 8 or 9%, they offered 5 or 6%. I did that for a couple of my clients when I lived there. We went in, we had an old bank building. We said, okay, we want to do this facade improvement.
Yeah.
We submitted to the city, they gave us some comments. They said, yep, we will give you a loan up to $100,000 for the 10-year term or something like that to do the whole front. We redid the crappiest building on the street, became the nicest
Yeah,
building on the
it's
street.
cheap money.
And it's still preserved today, because we did it with rich aluminum, it was all good aluminum piece, it just made the building pop. And it popped in a way that fit in with what they wanted with the city. And that way you're giving some influence, but you're not dictating, and you're just, if you provide these incentives, people are drawn to them.
Right.
And I
Well,
think
that's
that's
the
the
way-
things we have to look
That's
at.
the way you have to couch it, right? Yeah, even wrote here, to qualify for possible grants.
Yeah.
I put that right in
Yes.
that sentence, because
Right.
I know that's the way it gets passed. so
But
to
I
speak.
mean, we've seen, there's a lot of changes that happened just in the past 5 years. So I think those are the things where we can say, here's some places to help things
Yeah.
kind of.
And I know
flow.
that when we had the Aquasic meeting, which I sort of observed from the side, a lot of those people wanted to keep Aquasic looking like Aquasic, and I was thinking, that also entered in my thought here too, is that, do you do anything there? And it's not like they're super historic buildings.
That meeting was very siloed.
Yeah, I know it was, I know, I understand the players to
Yeah.
some degree.
Yeah, it was interesting.
But yeah, so anyhow, to your point, Chris, it goes in there with maybe language changes that allow more flexibility.
But it's an awesome first draft.
It is, it's great, Steve.
Thanks,
Good work,
thanks for what you
Steve.
did.
Yeah, love it.
Well, I'll send it out as a Word doc.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then that way we can, the other option is that most of us set up Gmails, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
So if you go into Google Docs,
Mhm.
you can actually go in there and it becomes a collaborative document, and then we can all document with our notes. We can also see each other's notes. if
So I
you
can
like.
take it from Word. put it
Yeah, you
there.
go right in, you upload it into Google Docs, and then there it can be marked up, and then if we comment, you'll see our emails and see what we made for
Don't you,
comments.
you have to invite people to be
You
able?
do, you have
Yes,
to
right.
invite everyone on the email to be able to edit
Okay, all
or
right,
make
I'll
notes.
figure it out.
But you're still in control of the document, but yeah, and if you need help with that, you can send it to me and I can add everybody. Cause I find that gives you a way to work a little bit more collaboratively than
Yeah.
email after email after email.
And just one thing to fill you in, Chris, because you missed the part when this was talked about, is that, this draft here is really the first step in writing language for the new document. And that as we've assigned people, as Wendy was pointing out, different sections. And Donna and I talked at length, I think, about this, about beginning to move the process forward into drafting words now.
Yeah, and I think we're at the point where we can definitely
That's
start
what I
doing
think.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Good,
Uh,
yeah, we don't wanna belabor it.
So I'm officially passing the gavel to our chair, who is now in charge.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so meeting with the businesses is that morning of 9/19. Yep, and I gotta be in Falmouth by 12, so.
Do you want me to update you on that?
Yes, Wendy's done a lot of work on that with Donna, and there was couple things you chatted with me about, so I just wanna know where you can give us that update.
Yep,
on where
we
you're
are
at.
booked for the Rangeley Inn. I think it starts at 7:30. We're gonna do a continental breakfast. We've had an anonymous donation to help mitigate the costs of that, so that's good, so it won't come out of the town's coffers 100%. Probably 50-50 will be, probably $500 for the town.
Yep,
which is
and then the
good.
Rotary's gonna cover a chunk as well,
Okay, great.
so.
That's awesome.
Got a sponsor
Yep,
possible?
and we're doing it for food estimated for 40, capacity estimated for 50, and we're just gonna leave it like that, because it's continental breakfast, and half the time people don't even eat that stuff
Right.
anyway. And the motivation, and Donna did a fantastic outline for that meeting, is to not give massive preambles, to get right to work, to get the input from the crowd, because everyone's busy and they're, this is already in their wheelhouse, so they don't need a lot of coaxing to get the information out of them. And quick wrap up, and we're done by, I think, 9. I think that's what it is. Yep.
Yeah, what happened with the Saddleback thing? Did that go anywhere?
Saddleback, I have nothing from.
Oh, I talked to Chris about that. No, that didn't go anywhere. I didn't ask. I didn't,
They had some interest in trying to talk at the beginning, and I said,
yeah, I didn't
And I said
bother
it-
to,
it's Donna's call, but I said, if they wanted to, then they could sponsor.
yeah, let them participate how they want to participate. We're not limiting it to, we can't leave them out. They're like the elephant in the room. So you can't leave them out, but they are also geographically not part of Rangeley. And so, you know, it's a little, it's a little touchy, but I think that's great. Wendy, could you do a flyer?
Sure.
And would someone be willing to be a scribe?
Scribe.
You know, like
as
as people are saying things,
I can do that if you need help with it. We
to
have a
write
white-
them down. I'll
a
have a,
whiteboard.
you know, I'll have a flip chart, one of those flip charts that's got, they're giant Post-it notes.
Sure.
And then, you know, they could just go up on the wall, but, I think to help keep things along, if there's someone writing and, you know, I can keep things moving better.
I'm happy
'Cause
to help
we're
if
gonna-
that works, no problem.
That would be great.
Yeah.
All right. And
And
then,
then we'll need someone to staff the door too. I'll talk to Joe about that and see if Tracy or somebody can go and just be there to, you know, so we know who is there and get the email addresses and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I sent out with the agenda, there were some topic areas that I wanted to cover. And I'm trying to keep them broad so that we can just, you know, I don't want to steer the conversation into any one result. I want to hear what they have to say. And so I want to give them broad range to do that.
so if you're gonna, so you wanna invite people in the Rangeley area as well as not Rangeley taxpayers?
Yeah,
If you're bringing in
Yeah.
Saddleback, I think you have to open it up to other businesses that are outside of, that are in the Rangeley area proper.
I think that in terms of the overall economy, it would be really good to hear what they have to say. They might not have to deal with Rangeley on a day-to-day basis. And so, you know, we want to make sure we get our Rangeley businesses. Those are the primary businesses. But then there's that whole thing about how we all work together. So.
Well, I just wanna make sure that that's not a dominating factor, because I don't think that will help with a lot of the Rangeley businesses, especially with the current climate.
That you don't think it would be good if
Well, I mean,
there
there's
are a
quite
lot of
few that are
outside of.
dealing with payables,
Oh, yeah.
so,
Tables.
Yes.
yeah,
From the norm.
yes,
Oh,
quite a few. It's the number one topic that's brought to my
Only reason to
attention,
get them there.
I guess,
Dealing,
Why not?
right?
yes. it
But
represents-
the important thing for me is like, I wanna make sure, I'm fine with them participating, but I look at it as they're an equal participant, not any more dominating over any of the other businesses, in my opinion.
I mean, you could invite all the plantations, I don't know what other businesses or the other plantations that would be there, but.
Yeah, there really aren't
Basically
many,
What you call them.
there aren't too many, I mean, there's
Rev it up.
Ray Welding and Rev It Up's pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah.
Except for the one, the
There's a
news,
rental
there's a
place,
rental
yeah.
place that bought out the laundromat. I don't know, maybe
And
Alice
Joseph
gets some
Bill.
ideas of who's outside of Rangeley proper
There's
for
a
business.
handful, but
Used to be Bo's Buck and all those are all gone away,
Mhm.
friends camps.
yeah? So, I mean,
You.
that's gonna be hard for me to keep track of because,
what do you have to track, I guess, Donna, is what.
well, that's the thing. I mean, how do you enforce such a thing? I mean, do you want us to go so far as to say, let's hear from businesses that are within the town of Rangeley? We
No, I don't think you're gonna, I don't think
for
you're
the
gonna have to
first
worry
15
about
minutes.
that, cause if they send
Okay.
Matt's a pretty quiet guy, I don't think he's gonna try to dominate the conversation. He's not a Chris Farmer like
Good
that.
point,
No, but seriously,
it's accurate.
I mean, if you'd invited me 10 years ago, I would have bogarted the meeting, so. But, so I think it'll be fine, but I also, our goal with this is Rangeley, And True Sal back there, it does influence. But if you look at the sales tax numbers, that even the years the map was closed, it readjusted with the snowmobile in that piece, so. The doom and gloom that was painted by Arteris wasn't necessarily statistically backed up. So, I'm pretty knowledgeable about that, so, I just wanna make sure that sometimes gets a turnoff when Arteris comes down as like the savior of Rangeley type of thing. For the other businesses, some find resentment to that, it's a common thing discussed. So I just wanna make sure that we keep the focus on the Rangeley comp plan and Rangeley businesses participating in that part. And maybe I'm overly sensitive to it because I'm the one that gets the most feedback.
You might be a little bit, but, no offense, but.
No,
You
it's
might
fine.
be, I think we're safe by saying the plantations will be invited, and then we're not directing it only for them. Cause
Yeah.
now I'm thinking about the golf course to
Mhm.
Evergreen and the
Yeah.
building going in there.
Yeah.
So there's a few other little snippets.
I think I don't think it would hurt for the plantation businesses that are
Yeah.
tied in, that unless anybody disagrees.
Well, right.
So I-
It's always good to invite them, but you can manage the meeting so that they don't dominate the conversation, and that's
Absolutely, I
the
mean,
point.
she's running the meeting, she can control it.
It's pretty easy to do that,
I think
you
so.
know?
But all I'm saying is that unless someone identifies themselves as being from one of the plantations and not Rangeley, and we could ask people to do that, I could ask them to do it for my sake is to,
The first time you talk, please say what business you're from and where.
and, you know, are you in Rangeley? Are you in one of the plantations? Are you, tell us.
Well,
Well, yeah, there isn't a business owner that shows up and won't have.
We'll know, but identify.
Well, you'll know, but I won't. So
Right.
that's,
Well, that's why I think you just say, hey, guys, why don't we even have name tags and stuff there, people pre-register.
Pink ones for the guys that aren't from Rangeley, and then orange,
Yeah,
yellow for the.
But you know what I mean, if they put their name tag on, they say what business they're from, we can tell you pretty easily which businesses.
Won't be many that are.
I don't think people are gonna be burning rubber to come into the subcommittee
No,
meeting.
I don't think so either. I'll be psyched we get people.
Mhm.
okay.
I mean, the Rotary's coming, so that gets you 8 or 10 right there. so.
There we go.
And they agreed to cover some of the costs, for sure, so.
That's great.
All right.
All right, anything else we wanna cover on that part?
Chris, did you say you were gonna be there?
Yeah, I'll be there, but I gotta, I won't be able to chit chat a lot after.
Okay, do you want, so can I put you in to welcome everyone?
Yep, that's
And then
fine.
quickly turn it over to me and to thank everyone for coming. And if it's running late and you have left, then I will thank them.
Yeah, and I can even in my intro say, hey, guys, it's really good. A lot of us know you, but Donna doesn't, so when you stand up to talk, please just identify your name and your business, because it's important for her also to get to know you. So.
Yes,
I can
absolutely.
cover
Thank,
that.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay, Joe isn't here, but you have the update on the plantation meeting on 9/11.
Yeah, so, there's a meeting on 9/11, quarterly meeting with Dallas Plantation at the Dallas Plantation Town Hall. I know Joe has 9/19/24 in here, but it's actually 9/11. So,
Sandy River's coming too.
Yeah, Sandy River will be there, Rangeley Plantation is coming.
Rangeley is too?
Yeah, they've got a number of folks from Rangeley Plantation coming, and I hear Adams Township is gonna show up.
That's fabulous.
So the idea is,
What time is that?
that's at 6 o'clock, I believe.
Here,
No, it's in Dallas Plantation.
Dallas Town Hall?
And the part of the meeting is about regional planning, code enforcement possibilities. So there's been a lot of discontent with LUPC in those areas, and the enormous delays of 6 to 10 months in some cases just to get things processed. And there's a lot of interest in having those plantations buy into a regional program with Rangeley. And some of the questions that come down to the codes in Rangeley are Lubec, the codes in the surrounding towns, LUPC LUPC their state codes.
Mhm.
So the question is whether, we would like to see them create, planning boards for each of those towns, so they can run through the same process that we run through.
Mhm.
And will they adopt the same type of chapter 38 that we have, so we get everything consistent and uniform? And there seems to be, a lot of interest in doing that.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
that's what that meeting's about, is to get the ball rolling, to find out where that interest is.
Mhm.
What happens to my life beyond that.
I made it difficult with Saddleback because they have that DPD.
Yeah, so, and actually, what some of the driving force in that is, due to the fact that, they're trying to build a hotel at the bottom of a Sugarloaf type hotel that they really need in order to take that to the next level.
Mhm.
And LUPC has literally been non-existent in that process and pushed back and denied, and so they're looking for some other processes.
Yeah, they've had a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Your guy that used to do that. isn't
Yeah.
there anymore.
So,
It should be an interesting meeting.
Mhm.
so Joe did say if a few people from this committee could show up and maybe give a brief update on the top team, what the top team is actually doing and discussing as well.
And I have been going to those meetings and updating the region when it was
Okay.
just Dallas, for the past few meetings that we've had. But I did update them on the comp plan and they were interested,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna be there also.
Mhm. Great.
Linda's talked to me about that. I think it's a good idea for them. LUPC can be a challenge.
I know the planning board will be there, and I know myself, Carl, and another bunch of folks are gonna be there as well.
Great.
So,
They're the whole reason I got hired to move to Rangeley. LUPC. They were spending $20,000 a year. They're just spending $20,000 a month trying to fight with them. So. Anyways, okay, so that's there, and then meeting with Kingfield, Carabasset, Stratton, and Eustis, when is that?
Right, that is the 16th, Monday, September 16th at 4:30 at the Stratton Town Office.
Who did we decide was gonna go with that?
And Erica and I will be working together on that, setting it up, getting the questions ready, all that kind of stuff. But really, the purpose that I see for this meeting is, to go and do a roundtable and talk about, what are the issues, what are the bigger issues that are coming up? How are people dealing with different things? And is there an opportunity? Are there any opportunities for us to work together?
Mhm.
I think is sort of like the umbrella of how I would like to see this go.
Yeah, Carabasset, I know Bob Luce and I've talked, they're doing theirs right now too. They've got a new town manager, Dave finally retired. So it's a good time to do it.
Good.
So, good. Okay. Anything else? Next steps. Oh, one thing you guys have a copy in your a copy of the bylaws in the
Mhm.
packet. And that's because I asked Joe to put that on the agenda as a new item. I would like to, in lieu of Wendy's change of address that's imminent, I wanted to suggest that we add an out of town, like one person to position one. And I will say selfishly is that I think Wendy has been a big asset to the group, and I would like her to be able to stay on the group. And by the way, the bylaws are, once there'll be somebody new appointed from the select board, but there won't, and you'll have sold your home by then, so you will not be a taxpayer. So by the current bylaws, she would not qualify unless Breck resigns and you take over as code enforcement.
You're
We
not
can
going
discuss
anywhere.
that.
Yeah. Depends on the week, he might take you up on it, so,
After this week.
yeah, He's been running around, his head cut off this. So my suggestion is I'd like to go back to the select board and ask them to add one at-large Rangeley region member. And then I'm gonna also, with the approval of that, recommend that Wendy be that person,
Great. I appreciate that, and
if you're willing to.
I am willing to. I love the work and, you know, I think it's important for the town of Rangeley, which I dearly love, but, and I wanna go by the letter of the law, you know? I wanna do the right thing, so.
Yeah, so that's my suggestion. So I would like to have approval from this group that we are
I'll make a
have a discussion and.
I'll make a motion that we request the select board to amend the bylaws to include a member at large who may not necessarily be a Rangeley resident or taxpayer.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
I'm gonna
Wendy, you're gonna
abstain.
abstain,
Yes.
so it's past 3-0. So, great, so I'll go back to that, and I'm gonna ask them to, one, amend the bylaws, which they can do on the spot, and two, to appoint Wendy for that seat, and then ask them to appoint whoever from the select board is going to.
I like
take
the other
Wendy's.
idea better, make her CEO.
I'll do a
Well-
ride with someday.
It sounds like a bunch of formality, but I think it's important that we're clear on that, transparent, and I'm a big fan of transparency, and I just think
Good idea.
there, and I think Wendy's been an invaluable resource on this group and has a great
Yes.
connection with
Don't wanna
Donna.
lose you.
We don't wanna lose you from the group.
No.
Well, I
So-
appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, so Brett, are you reporting back to Joe, or
Yes.
I can circle back?
Yeah. Probably
When's the
both,
next
but
board meeting? Third?
I believe it's.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, so hopefully that can, because they're doing the agenda suit, can you,
Mhm.
yeah, I won't
Push to
think
get
of
that on
Monday,
the
but I can
agenda.
relay it to.
Yep. we wanna add a one at-large member.
So that's
Region
October
at-large.
3rd.
No, September 3rd, we'll
Mm-hmm.
get that on,
Okay.
because I'd like to get it all set, so Wendy's all set, so she can be,
Yes.
she can be there as a board member for the 19th event. If not, we still got a little bit of time, because they'll have the meeting on the 16th.
Mhm.
But it'd be like,
Oh, that's-
also
that's
when I think volunteered to go to the regional thing on the 16th.
Mhm.
And so I'd like to get her approved that night, so that way we're in compliance when she goes to that meeting, that she is on behalf of the board.
Gotcha.
And given the conversation with the plantations, it might be very timely.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody from the plantation, so I don't know if we want, that's the only thing else I wanna bring up is, do we wanna expand, I don't like having even numbers, do we wanna expand it out for 2 at large, and one of them we suggest is Wendy, and then maybe somebody else from the plantation comes on, or do we think that's too much?
I think that's too much.
Yeah, okay, I just wanna make sure, cause 6 gives us a deadlock, but I haven't really found that
I think
that is a
we're-
problem.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an advisory board.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I
not,
mean-
yeah, we're
Yeah.
not creating policy.
Alright, cool. Okay, so I think that covers that there, and then is there anything else, Donna, you wanted to cover? I think we're ready.
No, I don't
on
have
the
any
19th.
announcements. And,
Age
you
gets
know,
shorter and golf finishes up, we'll,
We're all.
Um,
we got 2 or 3 months before
This
ski
Tuesday's
season
the
starts, and we can get.
next meeting date, I am gonna be in Rangeley, the 16th, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, so I'd like to do the next meeting then, just so that I can be there in person.
Mhm.
Is you
We-
open?
But what do we have for action items we need to move the ball on? Because the 16th will be that meeting,
The regional.
regional one,
That's
and we're doing the
Monday,
other meeting on the 19th.
which is Thursday.
Do we really have any? I'm all for meeting, but I don't like to meet for the sake of meeting. So do we have items we need to push along? Is there some stuff you wanna send out to us, Donna, to review so that we can discuss it and have a meeting on the 17th?
So we should have an update on the business survey by then,
Oh, that's true.
one thing. We should have a report and discussion on the meeting at town hall and,
Well, the town hall meeting's not till this
no, I'm talking about the regional meeting.
regional meeting
meeting
on the 11th.
11th, yeah,
Okay,
And then the regional meeting with the other towns is the 16th.
16th.
So if you did something on
What-
the even the day before.
I'm just looking at the calendar from here, it looks like the 18th is open. That works for everybody
So
else.
that's a planning board meeting, right? So we can do it before the planning.
No, the 18th is, there's nothing, planning board meeting, that's the 11th and the 25th.
Oh,
Ordinance,
ordinance.
ordinance.
Oh, ordinance,
The yellow dot on it,
they start at 5:30, so it'll just be 4:30 to 5:30.
okay?
Yeah, all right.
So the
16th.
18th,
18th, yep.
Does that work for you, Donna?
Yep, yep.
Okay,
You said 4:30, right?
yes.
Okay, thanks.
congratulations, today I missed 3 meetings total
Mhm.
I had today. It's just not working. And Ally, I see you've been patiently waiting in the crowd there, did you have any comments? Just observing? Did you meet Donna, did you guys meet?
I met Wendy and then we kind of got started.
Alright, so this is Ally Kaiser, she's the new executive director for the chamber,
Hi Donna,
starting on
Hi.
July 1st.
nice to meet
I
you.
stopped into your office. I was up in July and I stopped into your office and you weren't there. And so I need to come back. When I come up the next time, I'll stop in to see you so we can chat.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Okay, we're at 5:40, so we're 10 minutes past where we usually try to be. Is there anything else you guys wanted to cover?
I just have one thing, Chair Farmer. I looked at our website and the description for this board is completely wrong. So I went in and made some edits. We don't have to talk about it now, but maybe you guys could look at it and see if it sits well with you. And then we can change it. The terms are wrong too on there, so that's what it is. It just still has the previous name for the board.
Correct. I like it.
That's it.
Does anybody have any concerns about her proposed revisions?
We can talk about it at the next meeting.
I don't know, let's just get it done.
It looks pretty good to me. It's good.
It's simple, it's not rocket science,
No.
it just took out what I stuff was, so. So we said the 18th at 4:30.
Yep.
Just the only question I would have is just that last sentence, regarding the town manager and board of selectmen to implement. Does it have to go to town meeting? For review and implementation?
It's gonna get approved by the
Well-
town,
You have to approve that at the town meeting, right?
Meaning the plan itself.
whatever
Yeah.
draft plan we propose.
Well, I think the implementation is more the work after it's been voted in.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I meant that.
Okay.
So really, how I see it is, I think it's an extra step to have this committee be an implementation committee,
It is.
because really it's the board of selectmen that should be steering the bus there.
Right, yeah, so
You
I
know?
think you wrote it correct. I agree with the way it is, because it's really up to the town manager and board, so we can figure out how to implement. Is it gonna be by committee? Are they gonna
Yeah.
just have the staff do it? They have a number of different
Well-
avenues,
And
Right.
based on,
So
years,
that's already identified in the plan.
correct?
right, in years past, when you didn't have a lot of participation on this board, it, that didn't benefit the town. If they were the ones in charge of implementing.
And the only question I would ask on this one is that, as we just pointed out, that the town meeting is gonna approve whatever plan eventually emerges, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not stated in here.
I don't think we have to state it, because it's the town manager and select board.
It's implied.
That we're gonna, anything that's done requires.
Okay.
Approval.
So, I mean,
I
I
just
guess we
figured
could, if you wanna add a couple words, there, I'm not opposed.
We could.
but-
I mean, ultimately, that's good. We're
That's
sending it
kind of
to
where I
the
was
town.
coming from with Steve
Right.
as well.
Well, we could say that, provide a cooperative plan,
To be
For the
approved at
town-
Town meeting.
After town.
town manager and
approval.
board member to implement, and the citizens of the town to
Following
approve.
After approval by the citizens of the town.
Yeah, that's good. Then people, if they look at it, they know they still have a voice.
I'm confident Wendy's wordsmithing, so I'd say let her
I'll-
send a revised, is anyone opposed to that?
I'll get back to you.
I am not opposed.
I'll get back to you.
No, just, yeah, just send it off. and
Okay.
Let's get the, I'd rather at least get the website updated, because what's said there is wrong.
Right.
We're good.
We're good.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I.
Adjourned at 5:45.
Right.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you.
See you on the 11th.
All right.
Meeting.
Let's go. I have a dinner party.
Oh, geez, so we